The Perry Thomas Show here at WLCU Studios as we get set for the 2022 season. From brand new face, I'm Collin Sheffield in this chair, but in the other chair beside me is a very familiar face around these parts, coming back for his 15th season, head coach Perry Thomas. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Collin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. How was your summer? How was the off season, if you even get really an off season?
Yeah. Well, you get a little bit. We had a great off season football-wise. Had a great spring. People don't understand this is the first year in 3 years that we had off-season program because of COVID, which I think is going to pay dividends for our program. We made so much improvement in the strength and our speed of the program, but also in our togetherness, our unity, and our toughness. So that's kicked off the season in January, the off season, and was great. Had a great recruiting off season. And then, personally, got a little time away, not much. Spent some summer not doing much, but working on some football, trying to get better, finish our staff up. But we're ready for some football now. So it's been a great off season, and now it's time to get to work and win some games.
So before we get into the start of this coming up season, let's take a look at last season. Mm-hmm. Last season was a tough year. The Mid-South Conference was pretty good. You went through a stretch where you played a top 25 team in University of the Cumberlands. You played number 8 Georgetown, and then you played number 1 Lindsey Wilson back to back to back. Right. How do you see this conference playing out moving forward?
Well, it's always going to be a tough league. I mean, this is my 15th year here, and in 15 seasons, it's always been a battle. And fortunately, we've been able to come out on top in some of those seasons, or runner-up in some of those seasons, but it's always going to be a battle, and these last couple of years have been really tough on us. But at the same time, I think we've built up a squad now with the talent and the depth to survive that type of schedule, and we'll be ready for it. But it's no one's going to back down. You're still looking at, even in our non-conference opponents, you have people like Faulkner, who's I think number 24th in the nation right now. So it's a demanding schedule at college football, and anytime you're in the Mid-South Conference, it's going to be tough.
And what do you take away from last season? You learn more from the negatives, it seems like, than you learn from the positives. What do you take forward from last season moving into this season?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't want to take a lot forward from it. We struggled a little bit, and the thing we had to do is we had to get that off season. When we looked at the last couple of seasons, we knew we were young. And we had some injuries, and some of those things you can't avoid. It is what it is. But, some of the things we took from it is, number one, we had some spots to fill recruiting. And number two, we need to get that off season so we could build some toughness in this team and that unity we needed. We have some talent. We just had to bring it together and toughen them up a little bit. So that's what we would take from it. We know that our guys aren't going to quit on us. They've proven that the last couple of years. It's tough to be 1-9, 1-6 in college football. It's everybody's a winner. Everybody wants to win. You come from winning programs. You're on a campus that got used to seeing you win. And then also other programs are winning. So it's tough to walk around here at 1-9. So, but our guys didn't quit. They continue to battle. They continue to work every day, do put in the time, sit in the hot seat and go to work. So we take that from the season and know that we are a tough team. Now we just got to get out there and start winning games.
And last season, you mentioned before how you had the COVID season, which was a spring season, and then you just take a short 3 months, and then you're right back into camp. You have football in the regular season for the fall. You have, COVID cancellations. You're dealing with all the quarantines and testing. All that is kind of starting to slip away as we move forward throughout this thing. So you should get back to a little bit more of a regular season. Hopefully you don't have to deal as much with that. But for injuries and things, is there anything that you all are doing? Because injuries have plagued this team quite a bit in the past. Is there anything that you all are trying to do or game planning for?
No, the big thing for us was, we needed to heal up a little bit. When you had young guys playing, they're going to be a little more injury prone. And, playing the back-to-back season like we did, had a short rehab time for those guys. So we need to heal up a little bit, but we also need to be able to put some time, a full year in that weight room so we could get stronger and address some of those injuries. Other than that, we're just going to go play ball now. We'll still deal with COVID. Everyone will. You'll still have some, COVID to pop up and different things like that, and you're still going to have injuries. But it's just time to play. So you can't worry about it when athletics, I don't care what you're doing, football, cross country, whatever. You just got to go play and get ready to go.
Well, up next, we're going to take a look at the 2022 roster and moving forward, as well as the upcoming matchup this Saturday versus the St. Andrews Knights. We'll be back in just a short break. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
How you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Thank you.
A place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show. We're going to take a look at the 2022 roster moving forward. Now, Coach, offensively, on the offensive side of the ball, you're having a few of the changes. You have a pretty healthy O-line coming back, pretty experienced guys. You are missing your leading rusher from last year in a first-team all-conference selection in Deontay Sipp. Talk a little bit about your offense and the guys coming back and the guys maybe that you've brought in as well.
Yeah, so we're excited about our offense. We have, like you said, we have an experienced group coming back up front. A couple of those guys, not sure if they're going to be available game one because of injuries, but we have some good, strong bodies up there. Cade Kroom, sophomore offensive tackle, is going to be, I think he'll be an All-American before he graduates here at the university. We also have Caleb Edmondson back. He's a starter from last year. He'll be starting on the offensive line. Ethan Gossage and Kadala Signer, both of those guys will be back. So really, you're looking at filling in one spot up there with starters. And then, you have some really good backups in Dalton Peach from over at Boyle County. He'll come in and possibly start early on. Brian Wright, a second-year guy, but first year on the field, will started off as center. So we're excited about that offensive line. Jarrett Rogers will be back. He hadn't played in a couple of years because of an injury. So I think we have a little depth there, and we have some good size. We have an experienced quarterback coming back in Josh Meglis. Josh has played a number of games for us, started off and on for the last few years, and he's had a great offseason, a great spring, and a great fall camp. He's able to throw the ball. He has as strong of an arm as we've had here in a long time. But he also runs the ball really well. And then he has some good freshman backups in Jagger Gillis and Luke Manning. Both of those young men do an excellent job there. I think probably the strength of our offense next to our offensive line, those are running backs. We have some really good running backs. C.A. Collins is back. He played running back for us last year. He was one of Deontay Sipp's backups. Tremendous football player. Also, we have Trey Bass, a transfer from Western Kentucky University, come in. Archella Smith and Travion Hawkins. And I think we just got 4 guys right there that can really pack that pigskin and get some things done. And what happens when you got an offensive line and you got some pretty good running backs, then you take a lot of pressure off that quarterback. So then that quarterback has the opportunity to make some better decisions and not feel as rushed. Receivers, Luke Shepperson, Zach Cole, those guys, Patrick Oden bring some great experience to the receiver core. And then some of those young guys, Andre Saller and a few other guys will fit in there with them. So I think offensively, we've struggled a little bit offensively the last couple of years. You have to remember back in 17 and pre-17, we were scoring 40, 50 points a game around here. And even when we would lose a game, it was such an excitement for the crowd. But last couple of years, we've struggled into the 14 to 17 point a game range. But I think as long as we can secure the football and stay healthy, I think we can push back up to that 4 or 5 touchdown game range. Maybe look a little different, maybe more of a run style, but I think we'll be very steady on offense and exciting for the fans.
And you mentioned Josh Meglis being able to get it done with his arm and with his legs. What does a dual threat quarterback like Josh Meglis mean for your program and your offense moving forward?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure he's a true dual threat, but he does have the ability to run. And what it does, though, it just takes pressure off a quarterback. It takes pressure off of offense. I'm an old defensive coordinator, and I know I'd rather defend either a runner or a pocket passer than the one that can do both. Because now you can't just bring pressure randomly as much, against that guy that can take off and run. And you have to spy him a little bit in the pocket. So I think Josh will cause people to do that. And his backups, Jagger Gillis and Luke Manning, both can do the same thing. So we're excited about the quarterback spot and also the future of the quarterback. All those guys, Josh has another year left, and those other guys have 4 years. So we're excited about that position.
Now, on the defensive side of the ball, there was a lot of seniors and grad transfers that are on their way out from that season. A couple players that just come to mind, Kobe Reese,
right.
Malcolm Walker,
right.
Xavier Newland, a lot of big names, just to name a few.
Right.
But who do you have coming back in on the defensive side of the ball and who's coming in to supplement that?
Yeah, so the first thing, I've always, since 1988, I guess, I've been a defensive coordinator. And this is the first year I haven't done it the entire year. So the first change is Derek Burnett, our DB coach, is now our defensive coordinator. And I think that's a blessing. I think it was time for me to back out of that role and just be the head coach and let him take that thing. And between Coach Burnett, Coach Matt Atwood, who's been with us a long time, Forrest Garner, and Robbie Gribbons on that defense, I think we have 4 guys right there that will get the job done, that can relate well to this young guys and get the most out of them. So I think that's the first change you'll see, and I think we'll benefit from that change. But we'll have Grover Russell back on that defensive line. Grover's been a steady for us, missed the last 4 or 5 games last year, but he'll be a steady for us. He'll be a leader for us on that defensive line. Trevor Harmon will be back on that defensive line. So that's 2 big bodies right there, strong guys that'll get the job done right there. Jacoby McGill, he started for us at linebacker last year, and he'll be back on that second level. Aboud Elias. Those guys, just to name a few. So, and then Diego Bromfield and Anton Fant in the secondary. So we have some really good players back, and I miss some names also there. And then you'll bring in some new guys that'll step in there. Some of these young guys who have a really good freshman D-line, linebacker, and secondary crew that'll come in and fill up some backup spots. We have a corner, Mark Pruitt, transfer from Lindsey Wilson, that will give us senior leadership on the back end also. So we feel good about our defense. Defensively, we're going to be young in spots, but we're fast. We can get after you pretty good, and I think we can get off the field on third down. So I think defense will be a great strength for us as the season goes on.
You mentioned a few of the coaches earlier in Matt Atwood, Hunter Brown on the offensive side of things. There have been very few turnovers in the coaching positions this season and for a couple of the past years in general. What's the importance of not having, the turnover in coaches?
Well, it's huge because, at any level, but especially at this level, because we are a numbers institution, you need to be able to develop relationships with your guys, and you need to have retention. And a big part of retention with the players is to be able to develop those relationships. And that's going to come when you can retain a staff. The only staff movements we had this year is our running back coach, Byron Kennedy, is new to our staff. Byron was all-conference running back here during Coach Finley's years here. Tremendous football player, and he was excited to get back. And then Lamont Johnson will come in and coach our receivers. And I think that would be great for us on offense. We've got 2 young guys there that have a great deal of energy to fit with the leader like Coach Chris Pardue, the offensive coordinator, and Hunter Brown, who's been here forever, played for us here, then coached here, coaching with us now. I think we have a tremendous staff. I really do. I really like this staff. They're all about the culture. They're all about Campbellsville University. They're all about these players and being professional coaches, and that's what you want. You sometimes you get coaches that are about Campbellsville, but they're not about being a professional. Sometimes you get coaches that are about being a professional, but not about Campbellsville. This staff is all about Campbellsville and being a professional. They're tied in, they're locked in. Doesn't mean that we're not going to lose some down the road to other positions, but they're all about CU and our success and these players' success on and off the field. So I'm extremely, as much as I've been in a long time, excited about this staff and what they're bringing to our young men.
I know you mentioned Byron Kennedy as a coach coming on, all-conference running back.
Yes.
He was a part of the first conference championship in this program's history in 1997. So a great person to have back on the staff. A lot of players that come back as coaches, and you mentioned, being all about Campbellsville as well as being a professional.
Right.
And, Matt Atwood, Hunter Brown, coaches like that coming back as players, they have that Campbellsville blood a part of them.
No doubt.
And it makes it much easier to coach and feel they know the program, so it makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, no doubt. You look at, Coach Kennedy, Coach Brown, Coach Atwood, and Coach Gribbins. Coach Gribbins played, he led the conference in tackles here. So you got 4 guys right there that played at this university. They bled at this university, got degrees from this university and this community, and it means something to them. And the other guys have come in and just bought into that. And I'm telling you, I'm excited about this staff and excited about this team. They are as hard of a working team as you're going to find. They fly around. They're fun to coach every day. And we're going to win some games.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll step away and take a quick break.
There you go.
We'll be right back. We'll take a look at the 2022 schedule as well as the upcoming matchup versus St. Andrews. We'll be right back on the Perry Thomas Show.
We are champions of character.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show here on WLCU Network. I have head coach Perry Thomas with us. We're going to take a look at St. Andrews, their first matchup coming to you at home at Finley Stadium. That kickoff will be set for 1:30 Eastern. You can get all your tickets and things on CampbellsvilleTigers.com, all information about that. Coach Thomas, What are the jitters coming into your first game, and especially having your first game at home? Talk about maybe the pressures that come with that, or maybe the things that are beneficial for that.
Well, I think it starts out with the unknown. You know, we don't know much about St. Andrews. Now, at the same time, they don't know much about us, but they have a new head coach. They have a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. They did play a game Saturday against Lindsey Wilson, and we was able to watch that game, but they were really outmanned, you know, so you just don't know how we match up with them. So that's part of the unknown. Also, the unknown is that they have a game experience under them. So that means that they're going to have substitution patterns worked out. They're going to have special teams worked out a little better. They're going to, so much more improvement is made from game 1 to 2 than any point of the season. So they're going to have a lot of things worked out. We haven't played a game. So we're going to get out there, and we think we know what we're doing, but there's going to be times we're going to have to waste a timeout. There's going to be times when we're going to run the wrong routes and so forth. So those are the unknowns. You don't know how your guys are going to respond on game day. You know, the positive is we are home. We sleep in our own beds on Friday night. We don't have to really break our routine any. We'll have our own crowd out, and we know that our crowd comes out regardless of how good we are. We'll have a packed house. And we're getting ready to play football. It's time to open up the season. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things you just show up in a parking lot somewhere if you need to, and let's go play a game, and let's see where we're at. So that's the positives of it, and we're excited. We're ready to get the season started. Our guys have been because we start a week later, our camp has been a week longer, and our guys are tired of looking at each other, you know, so it's time to play against somebody else.
And you mentioned that St. Andrews has already had a game versus the Blue Raiders,
Yes.
a very familiar opponent. They're already ranked number 4, a powerhouse these past few years. What do you take away? They scored 56 points in that first half, and then put in, you know, their second, third string guys. What do you take away from that game moving forward against this St. Andrews team?
Yeah, it's hard to take much from it, to be honest with you, just because the matchups were so different. You know, there was such a separation in Lindsey Wilson's talent compared to St. Andrews' talent. Now, we like to think that we're in that category of the Lindsey Wilson talent now, but we won't know until we play Saturday. So it's hard to take much away from it. It was a tough game. You have to look at it like this from St. Andrews' standpoint. It's their first game as a staff together. First time those players have been with that staff in a game. So there's going to be a lot of miscues, right? There are a lot of things you got to work out. Long bus ride, and it's a miserably hot day. They only played, you know, in the second half, they played 2 8-minute quarters. So they shortened the game basically by a quarter because of the heat and because of the scoring discrepancy and so forth. So it's tough to take much from it. What we have to do right now, you always say early in the season, you have to just be focused on yourselves anyway. You really can't focus on your opponents. You know, we saw 4 of our opponents Saturday. We saw Lindsey and St. Andrews, and we saw Union versus University of Cumberland. And it's easy to sit back and start diagramming things and working on those teams. But, you know, this early in the year, we better fix us. We better get us together and make sure that we're ready to go. And so our focus is totally not on St. Andrews, and there's no slight against St. Andrews. And next week it won't be on Union. Now, don't get me wrong, we'll be ready for their sets and things. But our focus is on us still, making sure that we're getting the right people on the field, making sure that we can execute the plays we're running, making sure that we can tackle the way you're supposed to tackle. You know, the first game you do live kicking game and you have to cover a kick and make a tackle. That's a difficult thing. So our focus is making sure we're ready to do those type of things and have the organization within the coaching systems to get things done. And then hopefully that's enough to go out and take care of business on game day.
You mentioned some of the, you know, the pregame jitters, some of the things that just come along with playing your first game of football. Right. Are those things the greatest challenge that you see for this team, or is there something else that you see?
No, I think the greatest challenge for this team is to go out and win. You know, we had got spoiled. When you look back at 2017 and previous, and we will have some bad years in there, but for the most part, we were spoiled, you know, spoiled. We knew when we took that field on Saturdays, we could find a way to win. Didn't win them all, but we knew we could. These last few years have flipped that a little bit, where our guys have started getting a little doubt in their mind. And we couldn't get that doubt out of their mind because we went from playing a season to playing a season without anything in there to bridge that and to fix it. Now we've been able to address it, okay? And we think we understand again how to win and what it takes to win. But until we get in the game and actually do it, you don't know. So our biggest challenge, our biggest jitters, or whatever we want to call it, is going out and winning a game. And to be honest with you, I don't care if it's about hook or crook. I don't care if it's the ugliest game in the world. We need to go win a game. You know, Campbellsville University needs to get back on that winning ledger. And you do that and things start taking care of themselves. You go out and lose, then you still fall back into that mindset of, dang, we haven't made the improvement we need to make. So we need to just go out and win.
And you mentioned that you're looking forward as well upon the season, the full season. So we'll take a quick look at the schedule coming up for you all. The schedule, you have St. Andrews first. Right. And then you face Union College. You have Thomas More in there, who's a very good ball club. Lindsey Wilson, who's looked very, very good as of late. That's on the road, the Battle Highway 55. And then we have our homecoming game. That's Faulkner University on October 1st. Out of those 5, this first half of the season, what do you see? What do you expect from this ball club?
Well, it's hard to predict that until we play, but we know that we can match up with St. Andrews and Union physically. Doesn't mean that they're not better than us. I don't know that. But we know that there's not that huge of a talent gap there. The Lindsey Wilson game, Faulkner game, Thomas More game, well, the Lindsey and Thomas More game the last few years, there's been a huge gap in the talent, right? They've just, they both crushed us last year. 2 years ago, much more competitive. Last year, we got crushed by them. So we just have to wait and see on that. And then the Faulkner game, they were preseason 24th in the nation, so we know they're a very talented team. I do know this, that you win 1, that could lead to winning 2. And win 2, that could lead to winning 3. And you get on a roll, I personally think with the talent that I'm seeing from us, we're as good as any of them, talent-wise. Now, are we good enough to beat them? I don't know yet. But I think we match up better than we have in years with all 5 of those teams. And we'll just have to let it play out and see where we're at.
We'll take a look at the second half of the schedule as well. I know it might be a little down the road, but Cumberland University, Bethel University, then you take on U-Pike. You have Georgetown College, another very good football team as of late, and another one in University of the Cumberlands. All these matchups, anything stand out to you especially? Well,
no, I think they're all just very talented teams and very good Mid-South Conference football teams. And when you look at the conference as a whole, we're all pretty much lumped in there together. And some years, we're up there at the top. Some years, Lindsey's at the top. Some years, Georgetown, Bethel, University of Cumberland. I mean, if you go back and look at my tenure here, I think all of us have won multiple championships in this division. It's just a matter of who's healthy and who's hot, and who's playing well. Those games, second half of the year, so much can happen between now and then. It's just hard to kind of project them. But I do think that we'll have an opportunity to stand in and face all these teams. A battle we have to figure out as coaches is how to practice and keep our team healthy. We have to play 10 straight games with no break, which is unheard of, number one, but it's also a very difficult chore in college football. So we have to figure out how to keep ourselves healthy as we move forward. But look, we're just excited to play. We're fired up. We're excited to get out there Saturday and get back in front of the home crowd and show what we can do and make people in this community proud of us again and, get back to winning.
Thank you, Coach. I know the university is excited to get back into action for football as we come up on our opening day and opening kickoff start time at 1:30. That's on Saturdays where they take on the St. Andrews Knights. As I mentioned before, you can find all things Fighting Tiger football on CampbellsvilleTigers.com. We hope that there's a packed crowd, so come out, support the Tigers. Thank you, Coach Thomas, for being with us, and we will see you next time on The Perry Thomas Show.